So the basic principle, and this is all you need to know about marketing, really, as a marketing structure, what I call joined up marketing. And everything you do or thinking about doing, everything you're doing now or you're planning to do will fall into one of these 5 categories. The first, of course, is to make sure that you are talking and in front of the right audience for your product or services. Everybody is somebody and everybody is not your audience. It's very frustrating trying to sell product or services to somebody that is not ready for your product or services. So you've got to really define that audience. And the next thing you've got to do, we're going to be talking about it today, is get those people not only to stop from being distracted, you've got to grab their attention, and you have to get them to lean forward into a conversation, into a conversation and engagement. That's the second stage. What are you doing to engage people that you are reaching out to and making contact with? What are you doing to engage those people that adds value? 82% of all sales take place after the 7th touch, and most people don't bother to touch to make more than 2 touches. That's a fact. Your competitors are like that. So you've got a great advantage if you understand and put that into practice. The third area is sales and the sales techniques that you use, and understanding sales and being comfortable with sales as a process of helping people solve the problems that they have. And we do have good sessions on that. And that's where most people end. They go back to finding more people, finding more audience, whether it's whatever advertising they're doing. And they do that loop of 3 areas: audience, engage, sales. However, retaining clients is really key. Staying in touch with clients is really key, because if somebody has used your services, you want to know that you fulfilled their needs. And secondly, you want to build a relationship, because that's really key to maybe finding out whether they want to be a repeat customer, maybe finding out other services that you could provide, maybe helping them in other ways. Because once you've got that relationship, then nobody better to introduce you back to a fresh audience. And that introduction, some people call it referrals. I did for 20 years when I was with BNI, but I think introductions are a far better way of describing that. So what I wanted to do today is to just cover things and let's keep everything simple, shall we? Everybody needs to generate leads on a regular basis. We need to find potential customers through lead generation. The challenge we've all got when we're working on our own is we get busy doing or providing the, completing the sale, providing the services, building websites, photographic shoot, etc. That after a while, and I want everybody to think about the last couple of months, we suddenly stop generating leads. And we suddenly find ourselves with a gap. So business comes up and it's down, and it's up and it's down. And we need to be thinking about making sure that every week we're reaching out and building relationships. I'm going to talk about how to do that. As we generate leads and we start to engage, we really need to think about how are we positioning ourselves with authority and adding value. Because you've got competitors, and you may think you're competing on price. Well, I don't think anybody thinks they're competing on price here, but the right sort of customer that will pay the prices that you want to charge will do so because they believe that you're a person of authority. So how are you doing that? Moreover, if 82% of sales take place after the 7th touch, how are you staying in touch? I spoke to a couple of people yesterday about their weight issues. They basically closed the door. They said they were going to handle it themselves. And of course, I could write that off. But I am genuinely more concerned that left to their own devices, they won't sort their weight problems out. So I've got to think of ways in which I can stay in touch without being salesy or whatever. So how to stay in touch is really key. Obviously, wowing and delighting customers. We haven't had a great deal on that. Maybe we could cover that at another issue. But wowing and delighting customers over and above what's expected. And that's not too difficult at the moment, because I think generally prices are going up and standards of service are going down. That's my experience. We can correct that in our situation, but then continuing to stay in touch and, of course, asking for introductions, which we covered, I think, last week. So this is what I'm going to be talking about now, and very simple ways, keeping it simple, how to generate leads and position yourselves with authority. And there's a number of ways that I've seen other people on this call do things. I watch very carefully, and things that I do. And I'm going to share these just so that we can get the ball rolling. Content. Content is really key. When we speak to potential customers, is it just verbal? How do they see the authority? We're going to tell people we're good. In fact, we're going to tell people we're brilliant, but what sort of content? Where I tend to follow is trying to get people that are doing lots of other things to stop them in their tracks. And I'll show you some of the ways I do that. Get them to lean in out of curiosity. And then maybe we can discuss how we engage with people and share that with each other. All the time, I'm looking to do that with some authority. And all the time, well, not all the time, but most of the time, I've got the call to action. By the way, I say most of the time because I've really had to bend myself into doing that. There's a lot of people out there giving lots of information, lots of really good content, but they're not asking for something in return. There's no call to action. Whether that call is a download of a document or a report, whether it's getting somebody on your email list so that you can continue to provide value, or whether it's getting somebody on a phone or a Zoom call. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now I'm not picking on Martin, but I picked up this morning this particular post of Martin's, and I have to say it's only 23 hours old, but as with his previous posts, he's got a tremendous number of likes, and more important, he's got 40 comments. Now, I've not looked through all the comments. I didn't have time to do that. But he's got a really compelling picture. Pictures are words, which comes first. He's got people commenting. And what I'd like to do is to find out how are you handling that, Martin? I'm not going to come off screen because I've got just a few more things to show you.
How am I? What do you mean in terms of how
you've got these comments. What are you doing next? What's the purpose of the post?
So basically, I go through every comment and try and say something that's sensible or something that shows off my knowledge. So it's a sort of engage with the discussion, and just to showcase that who you are and you know what you're talking about.
And well, first of all, that is, I mean, I can tell from those stats, LinkedIn are going to show this to more people, all social media. They want to keep you on their site. LinkedIn will show this to more people. We think when we post something on LinkedIn that every one of our friends sees it. They don't, a very small percentage, because LinkedIn is going to say, is there an interesting conversation? Is there interesting engagement going on here? So getting comments like that is brilliant. And when you comment back, it's a way of engaging. But if you're engaging people at a networking event or on here or wherever, what would you look to do? What are you looking to do from these comments? Are you looking to take them, have conversations offline? Are you looking, are you looking to do anything else?
I would then, I want to connect with them on LinkedIn. And then if I think we have some sort of interest in what we both do, then it would be good to set up a one-to-one and sort of take it from there. Also, it wouldn't just stop at this post. I will then, in a couple of weeks, I'll do another post and then hopefully build up some sort of reputation within that group. And then slowly build up relationships within the group.
Out of interest, are you sharing it to any groups that you're involved in?
Yeah, it's this. It's called a LinkedIn Breakfast Club, and also there's one on the Bath Business Focus. There's a LinkedIn, so everybody. So you post up. I think Nick is also Nick Cole is part of that. So when you post, you then have a WhatsApp group and you say, "Hey, I've posted. Can you comment on it?" And it's the same with this LinkedIn Breakfast Club. So you post in the morning, and it goes up on a WhatsApp group. But then you have to then go and post stuff on other people's posts. Comment on other people's. So it takes quite a lot of time. I mean, it's my first week of doing this breakfast club, and it's been quite time consuming.
Well,
also,
go carry on.
And also people from this group comment as well. It's like,
that for a start, that's a great strategy. And I think obviously the main thing is to get people that are new, that you've not met before, and have that conversation. And I would imagine take an interest. You really don't want to be diving in for a sale or whatever, but okay. I think that's great. And I know, I sense there's something going on because Nick Cole also has great reaction to his posts and far more than I get. So you obviously know what you're doing, guys. Right. Here's some things that you might want to consider as well. I
join the LinkedIn Breakfast Club. I can tell them how to do it because Sorry,
Marcus.
Sorry, if anybody wants to join the LinkedIn Breakfast Club, I can tell them how to do it.
Well,
I've been doing it for a couple of years.
Let's talk about that in a few moments. This is something that I found very easy to do. It's a free guide. In actual fact, I used to ask for an email address. Sometimes that's not necessary. But a 32-page document I built in Apple Pages. This is before Marketing Crew, and it was just giving people a practical guide as to how they can get in front of more people who want to buy your stuff and stop wasting time chasing people who don't. And it's really the 5 key elements with lots of really good content. And at the back end of that, in fact, I need to update it because it was at the back end of it, there's some contact details, and then people can just download that. So I don't have any track on that. It just gives value. So sometimes you can give stuff away without asking for an email address, as long as in there, inside it, you've got some contact details, because that's another way of sharing your authority. There's some software I use for capture pages, and it's the ability, and I'll give you the links to these at the end if you're interested in looking at them. If I see any article on the net that's got a URL, it could be a blog or whatever, and this was an article I saw, 9 business challenges every small business struggles with and how to fix them. I thought it was a great title. And you notice I haven't said I've written that. I've put shared by Paul Clegg. I literally can take the URL of the blog, put it into this software, choose a cover, click a button, and it pulls everything in, formatted in the form of an ebook, which I can then pull off. I pull off the image and I put it into some separate software to produce that graphic. And it clearly gives backlinks to the original article. So I don't pretend in any way that it's my article, but it's a good way of producing content, downloadable content, very quickly and very easily that you can share in return for an email address. There's another one, amazing 9-word, where am I? Get me out of the way. 9-word email to revive dead leads. And I tell you what, those 9 words are fantastic. How to generate new business from dead leads, presented by Paul Clegg. So again, I've got the kudos of sharing this. And by the way, if you've written a blog or an article, you could turn your own blog into a PDF with a couple of clicks of a button, and you can put in the blog, if you prefer to download this as a PDF, click here. So again, you can be adding valuable service. But that sort of presupposes that you've got a very friendly web designer or you're running your own website. Might be too much otherwise. But they're very valuable ways of sharing content with authority. Another way, of course, could be to share content, and I've showed you this before, men over 40 with belly fat, here's how to look sexy again. I'm still not sure about that title, but if you were to click that, if you were to go to that website, first of all, I've got an introduction, and below that, there's a link to get further information. So using video on a landing page to show your authority and to grab attention could also be very valuable. I've recently used some of the amazing photographs that that Marcus has done for me, and in the business that the side business that I'm working on at the moment. And this is quite interesting. It's a 3-step process. There's I'm looking for people with a background in sales, marketing, social media, and team building experience. The details, it's all on one page above the fold. If you click the more details, you go to this page, no opt-in at this stage, application open for leadership positions. If you go and slide it up, lots of information that gives them the details. And if they're interested, let's start a conversation. They put the details in and it straight away arrange a Zoom call, goes to my diary, and I'm only talking to people that are really have got some background information and are clearly qualified. So again, that could be a good way to grab people's attention, the right people, I've got to get that in front of the right audience, of course, people looking for side income or people who are looking to pivot after pandemic and people with frustrated about their sales, their experience. But I'm going to see whether that works at all. So I'm now going to open it up, but what I would like to do is to ask the question, what would get potential clients of yours to stop in their tracks and lean in? How can you display your expertise, advice, your value? How could you present it? Just giving you a few ideas, but there's a load more. Where will this content reside? In other words, people opt into something. Where is that data being pulled into? And they're the basic questions that I want to ask. I'm going to stop the share. There you go. So who'd like to start?
I've got something I was going to say. I like the presentation. You've given me lots of ideas where I'm thinking I really want to look into those PDFs and have a look at them. I appreciate I could just have a conversation with you about it, Paul, rather than doing that exercise. But in lots of ways, I feel like the last few months for me have been so much about content generation, but not about distributing it. And I've got out of the habit. And I'm embarrassed about that, really, because I feel like I'm missing several tricks. I really like what Marcus is doing with his little photo shoots. I think those have got legs. I'm hoping those are working for you, bud. I wanted to mention that Debbie is doing that breakfast LinkedIn thing. Debbie, what's the number of posts you've had now on that article you wrote?
I was going to talk about that actually. Yeah, I put one on last week. It was a political one, and I've got like 140,000 views or something on it, and I've got like,
hey,
yeah, I've got loads of views. But then I was talking to my partner about it last night, and I'm loving doing it, if only for look who's looking at my things. But I'm just thinking, because this one that I did was a thing about women, Jewish Orthodox women not being able to divorce. And then I went into Afghanistan and how terrible for women, etc., etc. And I had so many private messages as well from one woman in Egypt who was telling me how awful her life is. And it was amazing and horrendous and so on and so forth. But I also thought, that in itself was great. And I've done other ones as well. And I've had like yesterday's post is 6,000 views or something like that. But then how do you turn that into actually getting work out of it? Because it's all very well me thinking, well, I've got 6,000 views, I've got like 100 whatever views, but then I'm not getting clients, you know. So, which, you know, it makes me think, great, but at the same time, well, how do you turn these things around? You know, that's my question, really.
I think Chris's point, you've got to be careful. I'm going to show you some of the sort of pieces of software that you can save time and generate business, but I'm going to warn you, don't get overwhelmed with bright, shiny objects. Don't get overwhelmed with likes, even comments. You've got to say, why am I doing this? You could turn into an agony ant if you want, Debbie. You know, free Palestine and all of that. So I, you know, it's so tempting because I can be very political, but I'm thinking it's not going to go anywhere. Nick, you had a point, and then Marcus.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Debbie, aside from having, you know, political views and interest in those things that you posted, did you post it because you felt really passionately about it, or did you do it from an awareness and a business point of view? What was your objective when you posted those political pieces?
that one specifically I did because I this Breakfast Club thing, I knew I have to post something. and I did, and the night before I'd watched the news about that, and that you know, I feel quite strongly about it, so that's why I wrote that. But with all the other ones I've been writing are pretty much about, you know, the therapy, about business and so on. But that one was the one because it was a political view, and it was, you know, maybe I did the right hashtags or something to see a lot of, you know, people out there, and so it got a lot of traction that way. But yeah, all the other ones have been about work, really. You know, I'm doing this meditation Monday where I put a different meditation out. But then, you know, like I did that one yesterday. It was Monday, yesterday, wasn't it? Yesterday, I got 6,000 odd views for it. But then, you know, I looked just to see whether anybody had actually looked at that meditation. I think I've had 4 extra views, you know, so not really. No one's actually looking at it, you know, so it's all very well having these things. But, you know, maybe that's after a period of time, and people keep seeing it. I don't know if the same people keep seeing these things, apart from the ones that are commenting, obviously. But
do you think people are on these various platforms to relieve the tediousness of their job, or are they bored, or, you know, is it, you know, that it's so easy to scroll through? Marcus, you had a point.
Yeah, gosh, okay. There's quite. I mean, I've been doing that LinkedIn Breakfast Club for a couple of years, well, a year and a half with Maureen, so I know it pretty well. It can be a Debbie, yeah. I mean, I put you onto it, and I also think I told Nick Sladek about it, which is he's telling everybody. It can be a vanity metric. There's no denying that. You have to have other things in place for it to work effectively. One, you have to have a good SSI score with LinkedIn, and I can tell you how to do that. And secondly, you have to have a good amount of contacts as well. The more contacts you have, the more likely you might get work from it. Yeah. So really, it's a combination of those things. But with LinkedIn, it is a slow feed. You will not get work out of LinkedIn by posting on it immediately. It's a slow feed. But I think, yeah, my last 2 jobs have come from LinkedIn. Yeah.
I think if you can crack LinkedIn, it must be very valuable, because I know of people before the pandemic would be going to 2 or 3 networking meetings, having lots of breakfast and, you know, paying to go in, etc. And I remember at a BNI meeting, I mentioned LinkedIn because the beauty is that we connect on LinkedIn and know exactly all your contacts. And I know I can go through there and find out who would be a good contact for me that you maybe not are thinking about. So it's got great potential. And somebody said, oh, yeah, but I haven't got the time for that. It's funny, they've got the time for a couple of hours at a BNI meeting or a network meeting, but they haven't got the time for 10 minutes on LinkedIn in the morning. Ollie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, years ago when I used to go on LinkedIn, it was much more like of a serious platform, it seemed. And now it seems to have tipped more towards the kind of like social media aspect, and there's much more of the kind of, yeah, just everyday sharing and commentary on things. And I guess that's that element of people wanting to work with people and know their kind of views and who they are and that sort of thing. Yeah, just going back to your original question, Paul, about sorry, cat's going past. About what content to share and that kind of stops you in your tracks and things like that. And when I think about myself when I'm on LinkedIn, and it's often if I think stats and things like that are quite helpful. I find that I'll stop and read, like, you know, if someone says that doing this increase this by X, or they've had this return, I find quite powerful. And also I think maybe because of the and it'd be interesting to know what sort of Andrew and Martin as well working in, and the photographers here working in a visual kind of industry, sort of seeing visual things. So if it's, you know, someone's photo shoot or someone's web work that they've done or vehicle livery that you look at and you wow, and then that really kind of grabs me and makes me kind of lean in and want to kind of learn a little bit more about that particular project or something like that.
I certainly think that if people are scrolling through the feed, there's got to be something that just stops them. And that is quite a trick. I'm going to bring Nick and Martin in there, but before I do, Debbie, what graphic did you use to get that sort of views? Was it a statement? Was it a graphic you created? Was it a video? What?
It was. I used a link to the BBC website on their news article of it, and then I just wrote wherever I wrote, you know, a long thing about blah blah poor women. And it was, yeah, but I'm guessing it was because of the, hang on, I forgot what it was. Let me look quickly. It's right in front of me. Well, it will be right in front of me in a second. Where is it? Yeah, so can you see that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I put that picture, and then I watched this on the news last night and found myself in shock. And 21st century in the UK, women, blah, 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 blah. So, and then it says, my husband refused a divorce for 9 years on the BBC thing. So maybe that's it. Could be that. Don't really know.
So probably that's appealing to, as Ollie has said, the social side. Are you there for a social? I mean, you know, there is an argument that said the more people you engage with and make friends and what have you, but I'm just wondering how targeted that is and what you're asking them to do. If you're not asking them to do anything, they won't do anything. Gary Vaynerchuk wrote a very good book some years ago called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it was a boxing metaphor. And it was basically that in a good boxer will jab, 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 and then he'll do the killer punch. And he's basically saying that there's give, 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 ask, give, 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 ask. So the ask is what's your call to action. So there's a lot of people out there on social media do lots of giving and giving and giving, and they strike up lots of likes and followers, etc., some of which are real and some are not. And then they're never asking for anything. And if you don't ask, you don't get. Whereas if you're asking, selling, that is equally, objectionable. People will back away from that. So it's that balance of two. Nick, I just forgot what I was going to ask you, but
is it a LinkedIn related question?
Yeah, oh no, it was about sort of, what was it that was stopping people in their tracks? Is it visual? Is it graphics? Is it video? I tend to put quite a few videos up natively so they see movement. And you don't always get engagement in those, but it's amazing how many people I have conversations with that say, oh, I've been following your videos. And, I don't even think about that. I just put it up,
Yeah, I think it's not always the headline comments and likes, is it? It's there's a lot of people that are actually, looking at your posts and just not actively commenting or engaging on them. But it doesn't mean that they're not looking at it or reading it. I think you do need to have a visually engaging image. You need to have something that does arrest people in the feed. Otherwise, it's very easy just to pass through. I tend to keep my copy relatively short. I've found that if it takes much longer to write if it's longer anyway. Yeah. But actually, And I've also found that if I do things quickly without thinking about the copy, and I just get the words down quickly, I show a bit of myself, and then ask for some kind of, either say something which has an opinion in it, and then follow it up with and what do you think? Or tell me what your thoughts are, or what are you doing? That definitely encourages people to participate, I think. Some people will never participate, but the people that are likely to will do.
Chris, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I think Nick's right. I think you need, and I think you're right earlier on. I think you do need a call to action. I think I put a lot of videos out, and I've had a certain amount of trickle back in, but I'm still not really doing social media at the moment. I couldn't work out how to allocate more time and more creativity to it to be effective. But it's going to be the target, along with doing these videos for the next quarter, is getting my social media working and actually getting myself to engage with it in a tangible way, so that I can, and I'm going to re-release all the videos I've done, all the little YouTube videos, because I think they've got plenty of mileage left in them. And I think, whereas the content we're about to do with a professional videographer will be a lot more stylish and polished, I think the raw stuff that we've done still has merit, but it's making sure that the call to action is a tangible takeaway that may generate some leads, and I'm still not quite sure how to do that, what I need to say or what I need to ask for.
I think that any thoughts on that? I've got a couple of thoughts. But I think of my own situation, I'm quite keen to build this this entrepreneurial team. So one of the thoughts I had is that I will maybe do some videos, maybe write some articles about perception, maybe write some articles about weight management, the sort of comments that people make, that, you know, and my thinking behind that will be making a statement, giving value, but then raising some curiosity. So if you want to know more, click here, or PM me for some more information. And right now, if somebody's really serious about losing weight, I have a particular 2-part video that my partner has produced. It's quite detailed, and I'm finding that some people haven't got the patience to go through that, which is fine. I can write them off because they're not serious. But on the other hand, I don't want to write them off because patience and time is another matter. So I'm in the process of just condensing some bullet points, you know, the sort of maybe 5 or 7 key areas you've got to address if you seriously want to lose weight. And one of them could be eating the right things, but do you know what those are?
Yeah.
And then, you know, if you'd like to know what, you know, a cheat sheet or whatever. So it's giving the authority, but obviously holding some curiosity back. So they're forced to do something. They're forced to engage in some way. Because despite the fact that this video is brilliant, it certainly helped me, the number of people I give it to who don't bother to go through it, that might put one off. That might put you off if you deliver some content and people don't respond to it. But, you know, is that not qualifying the person? Is that not sorting the interested from the curious or the disinterested? I think whatever content we decide to, whatever route we decide, and I still love video content, I think we've got to do it, keep doing it, find out what works, but making sure that we ask people to do something in return. And once you produce this content, you can keep referring people back. So if you've got a particularly good blog or about your business or about, that's what I like about these cheat sheets and the ebooks, because at any time I can say, look, I've got some really interesting stuff that could help you. Would you like a copy? Yeah. And then you send it. But you've produced it once, it's collateral. It's content that can keep repeating and repeating and repeating. Morning, Rebecca.
Morning. Sorry I'm late.
That's all right. Tom, can I ask you a few questions? I do pick on people occasionally, but it's well-meaning. It's just to try and for all of us to understand your business a little bit more. I know your backstory. Do you want to briefly tell us, to share that with everybody else as to your story of how you got into becoming a Savile Row trained tailor?
I could start right at the beginning.
You can keep it brief though, but yeah, sort of bum.
Right. Well, my family started one of the first Savile Row bespoke tailoring houses, Anderson and Shepherd. That's my mum's uncle, and I grew up steeped in, sitting on my cousin's knee, learning how to use a thimble at the age of 6. So my mum was a sewer, although she's a mathematician and scientist. And then when I was 16, I wanted to do a tailoring apprenticeship. I was a young mod, and I wanted to make my own clothes and suits and stuff like that. Look smart. But sadly, Anderson and Shepherd had been sold 2 years before, some dark mystery, we don't know what it is. And so I ended up going somewhere else to do that. Towards the end of the apprenticeship, it was in the 80s, and Armani had come out with all it was ready to wear, and masters were telling their apprentices to go off and do something else. And so I did. And Acid House just came out, so I learned to DJ. And I spent the 90s being a techno DJ and sound engineer. The mod thing went by the wayside. It was all bright colour clothing and ravey-davey stuff, like, ponytails and things like that for the 90s. And then I worked as a sound engineer for most of my life, working on films and stuff like that, just locating recording things. And then I got run over 10 years ago. I got crushed by a car in a van, broke my back. And so I needed something to do to keep myself occupied. And all through my life, I've been making my own trousers and things like that, because I can and I like to. I've got a really flat ass, and no ready-to-wear trouser looks good on me. I have to make my own trousers. So I got my compensation eventually, which was a small amount of money from the accident. And Henry Paul Master Taylor just started an academy in Ireland, so I went over and spent a year with him, getting my skills back up together again to be commercially viable, really. And then the last few years I've just been sort of honing my skills, mainly in pattern cutting, because it's quite tricky. And I'm here now, so I'm sort of ready to go, and now trying to work out how to build a business.
So you just need to get in front of the right audience and get your marketing put together. What sort of marketing are you doing at the moment? I mean, how are you reaching out? What are you engaging in? How are you doing things?
Well, I've got, the LinkedIn profile and my Instagram, and I have a Facebook thing, but I don't think Facebook is really the place for luxury bespoke tailoring, to be honest. Instagram, I find, is a bit of an echo chamber. It's a bit of a bubble. We're all either tailors or just, or they're fashion influencers or shoemakers or, things like that. So no one that's really going to be a client as such. It's just nice to show my stuff up on there. Just had a look at one of my LinkedIn posts, actually, to see which ones were developing the best views. And in fact, the one that's developed the best views is me with my uncut beard. It was down here. I was looking like Father Christmas, with an iron board that I've just bought, saying that to make beautiful things you need beautiful tools. That's had over 600 views. Where most of my posts only get 100, if that. So I'm trying to work out what's so special about that one compared to my other ones. Apart from it's me with a big smile, probably. Nick's going to tell me now.
It just sounds quirky, relatable, Tom.
Yeah.
That sounds like such a brilliant post. It's a bit about you, isn't it? But also the tools of your trade. It's relevant to what you do.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think.
Such a great idea.
Yeah. And it's just a snap, it's a selfie done with the selfie camera on my iPhone. So, I like to think I'm a bit of a photographer. I'm not, but I went to, when I was at university doing my media degree, my time-based media degree, in the first year I did a lot of photography on still products and things like that. So I like to think I can, but I don't, and so I take pictures that I think are quite arty and put them on my Instagram page. But I'm starting to get to do more sort of camera verite type stuff where it's just sort of more selfie almost, you know, where it's just more real life, and as opposed to me just sort of setting things up all the time. And I have a YouTube channel with 6 videos on it. 7th about to be launched next week, I think. I'm still trying to work out how to do those. I watch an awful lot of cobbling videos on YouTube. I'm fascinated by shoe repairing for some reason. I always wanted to be a shoemaker, but I can't carve, so I couldn't do the lasts. Funnily enough, my cousin Teddy Anderson, he always wanted to be a shoemaker too, and he couldn't carve lasts either, and so he became a tailor. My mum's uncle said, you have to do something, Teddy. You either learn how to make lasts and become a shoemaker. I think John Lobber offering him something, or you come and work for us. So you couldn't do lasts, so he went to work for Anderson Shepherd.
Funny enough, Rod and I were talking to somebody who was waxing lyrical about Lob shoes the other day. Now, it could very well be that you're, because everybody, by the way, thinks they're a good photographer until they meet Nick. And each unto their own.
I know I'm not, though.
Well, they're not good tailors either. So what I'm interested in, a couple of questions for you that I've made some notes here. Anderson and Shepherd, how long were they in business? When were they founded?
1905, I want to say. It was either 1905 or 1909.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I can waffle given half a chance, so you can butt in if you want.
No, carry on.
And then it was sold in 1980.
Right. Okay. So, you know, your heritage goes back to 1905. You first picked a thimble up when you were 6 years old. That's impressive. I know you've had a gap with sound.
I call myself a 3rd generation master tailor because I am a master tailor. I can cut and make all garments, and obviously the 3rd generation. Although technically I'm 5th, I never understood which way to do it because I'm 5th generation down, but I'm the 3rd tailor. So I don't know which way to do that.
Well, I think 3rd or 5th.
If it makes any
3rd sounds pretty good to me. I think 1905 sounds pretty good. I think you first picked a
I like to say it's in the blood, you know. Yeah. So one of my things is I always say it's in the blood. You know.
So I'm picking up this real. For a start, I've already picked up some authority there. Who is your audience? And I'm going to ask you. I'm going to be really. I'm going to go under the belt now. I read an article yesterday about. In fact, I think it could have been on a Sunday paper, that ties are no longer de rigueur. In fact, it showed somebody wearing a mini dress with a load of made out of ties. So men are not wearing ties, men are not wearing suit, they're not going to the office, they're not having those meetings, etc. So is the suit dead?
No.
Right. Now tell me why.
Nor is the tie. Nor is the tie.
Tell me why. Tell us.
We were told this in the 80s that the suit was dead, and tailor-made suits were definitely dead. And you know, they were told that in the 1930s, 1940s, 1960s. You know, whenever someone comes out with something new that's ready to wear, this old tailoring is dead. But now it's become. I think what we're coming to understand is that it's more people who really actually want to wear. It's no longer really uniform. So, you know, I mean, what we tend to do more these days are what we call broken suits, you know, so sports jacket and trousers, capsule wardrobes. You know, there's still a lot of very sharply dressed people out there who want to be sharply dressed, but not with office attire. So what we do is we look at capsule wardrobe systems now, where you can have a very small amount of garments, but they can create a massive amount of collections of, you know, to wear. So you could have, you know, you can put browns and greys and things like that. So, you know, I'm just making a suit for someone at the moment, which is a brown jacket with a grey pair of trousers, funny enough. You know, these things can mix and match around. So I don't think it is dead. It's just a different way of looking at it. Well,
I don't think it's dead either, because I've always been interested in men's fashion. And I think I mentioned to you, I've got a great book here. You're more than welcome to borrow it if you want. By Tommy Nutter, about Tommy Nutter's life story. Great book. But
you see, I mean, when he came onto the road, you know, he really wanted to try and change something. You know, Tommy Nutter really changed Savile Row and brought tailoring, as I said to you on the phone, brought tailoring out of behind the shaded windows. Because before Tommy Nutter, to get into a tailoring house, you had to be referred. You know, even into Anderson and Shepherd, you had to be referred. You couldn't just walk in off the streets. They wouldn't even talk to you. You know, that's what these places were like. You know, the windows were blackened, so you couldn't see in. There's no window displays. Nutter arrived with his amazing cutter Edward Sexton and changed bespoke tailoring for the good. And these things keep happening. You know, I mean, there's a lot of young tailors coming out now who from Savile Row who've got, since the pandemic, because a lot of the businesses had to close down for a while, a lot of them went off on their own, started their own little businesses, and they're kind of, I think, trying to do a similar thing. But you know, I mean, you look globally, and you know, there's a big sartorial movement still out there. You know, Pitti Umo in Florence is still massive when they allow it to run again.
All right, so and if anybody wants to jump in with this line of questions, so maybe in Savile Row there was a feeling that it was certainly you had to have money. Secondly, it was maybe for barristers, lawyers, accountants, top executives. It was certainly a bit dour, a bit, you know, grey flannel. I'm only telling my thoughts. Tommy Nutter comes along and produces colour and let's face it, in the women's side, really couture dresses is quite the must-have. So who is the typical client today that you want to get in front of? What is their personality? Why would they want to invest a small fortune in a tailor-made suit, bespoke-made suit? You can buy a car for less. In fact, Rod would buy 3 cars for the price of a suit. But why? You know, but that doesn't mean to say that there's clearly a market out there. I'm trying to get an idea as to who that market would be.
I mean, I normally say people with money at this stage, but I'm not going to. I want to try and make it a little bit more accessible. I think sustainability, you know, I mean, I know a lot of people try to greenwash their businesses, but sustainability is a big thing. And in tailoring, you know, it's not necessarily important. It's just part of it, you know. And so my thing, I'm trying to sort of get across to people who are into that kind of lifestyle that, you know, really tailoring is probably the most sustainable in the fashion industry or in the garment trade. It's not fashion, but in the garment trade, because, you know, all our products are natural. I mean, all my cloth is made and produced in the UK. You know, my carbon footprint's tiny because most of it's done with my fingers. You know, so I'm looking at people who are really keen on sustainability. I'm offering a subscription service which tailors used to do way back, and to make it more accessible to people.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. Can I just stop you there, Tom? Because I really want to get other people involved. I know Marcus has had his hand up. Are you following that sustainable route as a niche because it's trendy? I'm not convinced about that. I'm trying to think of the personality of the individual that will say, no, I want the best. I mean, I know the detail that goes into something that's well made, whether it's some electronic equipment, whether it's a woman's dress, whether it's a man's dress. It's a certain personality, I would have thought. I mean,
I could have said, I didn't say any of that because that's what tailors always say, like, you know, but it's true. You know, people who like the finer things in life. So yeah, people with money. And
I would have thought somebody that is going to. I mean, I know you advertise your price on your website. So 3,600 for a bespoke suit. I don't know whether it's 2-piece or 3-piece. I'm not sure that those are into the average sustainability person. An eco warrior is going to be. I don't know whether that's a match. Andy's nodding there. Marcus, you had a point you wanted to make.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, Tom. I mean, obviously, I know your products, and I've got to say they are fantastic suits. But you haven't mentioned what I think is your latest idea and your biggest selling point, which is your linings, doing these with the graffiti stuff.
Sorry, yeah, I forgot about
And marking those towards fellow DJs.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with tailoring, obviously, it's all about uniqueness. I have I don't know if it's unique or not, but I went to school with one of the best graffiti artists on the planet, a guy called Inky, Tom Bingle. Who's
you say Banksy, you could have given his way his real name.
Which is how I know Banksy.
He knows Banksy.
A mate of mine is his manager, and I was part of the big Bristol music collective back in the late 80s, early 90s, with the Wild Bunch and all that, which is where Massive Attack and Portishead and all these other bands came from. We were a massive group of people, like, just a very loose collection of people with like-minded opinions and views and music styles and stuff. So, I thought, there's a company called Ramflies, and they produce these beautiful silk linings, digitally printed mainly from works of art from the National Gallery. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool? Because most people now, kind of my generation, in the catchment of the people who, would spend money on bespoke clothing, are all from the rave generation, which is me, and I thought it'd be great to do linings that reflected that and to use some of the Bristol street art and graffiti. My mates of photography collects all this stuff, and I thought it'd be good to try and work with some of the original artists and get them to maybe do some original works of art for linings, and then I can market that as a, and that would also come with pocket squares as well, like, not sure about ties because they might be quite dazzling, but they make absolutely fantastic pocket squares because there's so many different colours in there that you can fold it in any old way you want, shove it in your pocket, and it look great with any tie shirt or suit, to be honest, I think.
Okay, Rebecca.
Yeah, just on that, I think that's a brilliant idea. I mean, that sounds just really fresh and new and unique. And also it is, if you could do it that you line people's jackets that they have already. Is that what you mean?
I can reline stuff. I mean, I don't do alterations.
Yeah, I guess that. I was just thinking on the sustainability thing, whether that's.
But we do. I mean, we do bring stuff in to have re-altered and remade and what have you. So we can reline stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think that's really.
But it's time-consuming relining, but not a massive return.
I think
I tend to send all my orders to someone else.
I think distinctive linings could help from getting attention and drawing people in, for sure. Yeah. My eldest son's in advertising, and I got a fabulous present one year, which is I think it's the London Umbrella Company, and it's bright yellow, but the lining is like a pinstripe blue. I went on the website, and they can have linings like Sergeant Pepper's picture as a lining to the umbrella. And I think it's the London Umbrella Company. So that would certainly clearly a market for that. So I think that would be a great idea. I'd written down, rather than sustainability, I must admit, and I may be wrong, anybody else throw in their ideas, but I would have thought somebody that is a larger than life personality, somebody that's on stage, maybe a celebrity, a would-be celebrity. I'm thinking about master of ceremonies. It's a traditional red jacket, etc. I'm thinking of barristers, ex-military. Maybe these are stereotype people that normally would go to Savile Row, but I don't think we can discount them. And maybe those are the people to approach, but with a twist. In other words, they want that. And I noticed that in higher quality suits nowadays, there's detail, homing in on that detail. But that's the visual. I'm more interested, and then we'll move on, in audience and how you reach. So I think the key is to get that audience absolutely right, to know clearly who that person is. I think sustainability is, you can add that in, but I think it's too vague an audience. It was Martin first and then Marcus next.
Yeah. I do feel quite scattergun at the moment, So
I think that's the challenge with all of us. It's, especially when you just need the business coming in, anybody, but the more you carve that niche out, you're building your brand based on that niche, you're building your brand on your background, etc. I certainly think that music connection is a good one as well. you know, sound engineer. You've worked with, you know, lots of names. You know, you can maybe do a bit of name dropping. So we've got a few hands going up, which is the main part. Thanks, Marcus, for your contribution. Martin, Nick, and then Debbie.
Yeah, I just wondered about heads of advertising companies, big design companies. You know, they're the sort of people that would have money, but it would also would maybe want to wear kind of a suit with a twist. That sort of market.
Yeah. That adds their personality, that adds that.
Yeah, because they're sort of in the creative industries, and if they're the head of a big agency, there's quite a few big design companies in Bristol.
Yeah.
They could be interested in that sort of suit.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm showing is that it's, you know, I mean, it could be that art, but it could be anything you want. You know, I'm going to make a suit with my German Shepherd. I've got a great picture of him. It's just a selfie of him.
Or it could even
lining, you know.
Yeah, it could even be their own design.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, their own design.
So it can be done.
You know, that you could sew into their suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that. Remember, we're getting in front of people, distinctive people with distinctive personalities that are most likely. Now, of course, you might go down a route and find that's not the right route, but you know, I think I'd be tending to focus more on that, grabbing their attention, and secondly, I'd be thinking in your networking, by the way, develop strong relationships with people who are already likely to be in front of people like this. You know, whatever your audience you decide on. Who are the likely? I mean, certainly Marcus is one because he's dealing with fashionable people. That's why he's taking pictures of me. But secondly, I know his stylist could be a good person to develop a relationship with. I think you've probably done that.
With Nick.
He would be a natural because you'd have that mutual interest. But other musical people, music producers, etc. You see the way I'm going with this? They're the two areas I would focus a lot of attention with and think, how am I going to grab their attention? How am I going to reach out? What sort of conversations am I going to have? How am I going to, you know, work with them, etc. Now, Nick and Debbie had their hands up, and then Rebecca.
Yeah, Tom, I was just wondering whether you've investigated whether, you know, men are prepared to invest in a bespoke suit for their wedding day. It's the one day where you're, and yeah, a suit that you can carry on wearing, not just on the day you get married. I know if I think about the most expensive suit I've ever bought, it was my wedding day, and I did get a bit of use afterwards as well.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a massive market.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people do. I mean, I was just looking at one of my tailoring friends who's just done this lovely salmon pink suit for someone's wedding day. Now, that's great, but as you say, it can only be worn. The thing with wedding dresses, you can only wear them once, and then you put them in the cupboard and look after them nicely, and then get them out occasionally. And I mean, I don't know. I've never worn one. I've never had one. So, but with a suit for a man, you know, generally they go and hire some ill-fitting load of rubbish that's got a little stain somewhere, you know, and they think that if I can't, you know, buy a bespoke suit because it's just for one day and it's a lot of money. But you know, my thing is that, you know, a wedding suit should be made so it looks quite special, but can also be worn elsewhere, unless you're like a millionaire and you can afford to buy a suit to be worn once, and that's fair enough. But this is the kind of my angle on sustainability. It's not so much, you know, the tree hugging side of sustainability. It's the fact that, you know, I mean, one of my suits, it's actually about 3,200 for a two-piece from average cloth. Good quality luxury average cloth, I may hasten to add. And that works out, if you had it once a week for 10 years, which you should be able to do quite easily with one of mine, you know, it's only £6 something a week, you know, so it's actually
again cheap. And I know that you've used that as to try and justify the price. I think you can justify the price better than that. I don't think anybody's going to be thinking about wearing it once a week for the next 10 years, in my view. Debbie, you had a point.
Yeah, I was just going to go into like, have you thought of having a face to your brand, as in, you know, you were talking about Instagram, the influencers are on there, or if you know someone who's maybe being in the limelight or is in the limelight, who could maybe be, you know, someone who you can then say, well, this looks good on this man who is famous or who is whatever, and he can then be, you know, as in that then people come to it more, don't they, when they see someone who they know and they respect wears your suits, and they think, well, that's the kind of thing that I'd like to be in. And maybe, you know, if you know people like that, or know someone who could,
it could be a good target, that's for sure. And certainly I'm thinking not only celebrities, I'm also thinking about footballers. I mean, got more money they can know what to do with. And if somebody's got that special occasion for an award or for I mean, let's face it, they've all got Instagram followers, so they want to stand out. I mean, that's their personality. And that's why I chase the people with that personality and distinctiveness. Ollie and then Martin, and then what we'll do is we'll end this. We've got a good focus. It's not just about understanding and knowing how we can help Thomas thing. It's also about helping how you're doing that. So I think what we'll do is we'll have a short breakout session about your own content, and or we can just have it wide open as it is. So Ollie, I think, and then Martin.
I think Rebecca, if Rebecca still had a point, did she want to?
Oh, actually, well, thanks. Just really quickly, what Debbie said, it was similar to that. I was thinking just about, because you want to get it at that top level, don't you? You don't want to slowly work your way up. You want to go straight in at the top because you've got the product. So like that influencer or really high-end charity dues where yours could be a prize, that sort of thing. And then you're getting it in the right circles and people are talking about it. You need to go straight in at the top, I think.
Yeah, I mean, recently someone mentioned, because I'm on another networking group, which is How I Know Marcus, which is how I've come here. And they've mentioned to me quite recently, actually, because I've been doing this recently, is about this kind of trying to get like a face or a figurehead or someone I can make something for. And I just, you know, it's these things I really struggle to think about. I just need to let you into a small secret. I'm on the autistic spectrum. I'm Asperger's, and I have real problems approaching people. This is why I like Zoom, because I'm really anxious now just telling you all about this now. And so I kind of hide away in my sewing room, you know, and I'm trying to learn how to speak to other people, really, to be perfectly honest, like, you know, and how to reach out to people. I feel very shy is not the word, embarrassed maybe, I don't know, something in me that stops me. And I've had this all through my life in all my self-employed work, which is why I've never been particularly successful at anything, because I find it really difficult to promote myself because of it. I don't know why. That's a real stumbling block for me. And I take all this information on board, but it's then trying to sort of, you know, I've got a couple of people in mind I'd like to reach out to, but I have a brick wall in front of me. I just don't know how. I can't do it for some reason, you know.
Tom, first of all, I'd never have guessed, but thanks for sharing that with us. I'd have never have guessed. You seem very eloquent and lucid in your conversation. So you'd never guess that. All the more reason to develop these relationships with people who will make those introductions and sing your praises and start talking about you. And I think you need to
work with Marcus soon. So
I think you need. Well, I mean, Marcus has been a good in that respect, but you need maybe 5 or 6 other Marcuses. But they need to be very clear about who you want to be introduced to, what sort of business, what sort of personalities you want to be. You know, if I said sporting personalities or creative personalities, Mel will know from his contacts who is larger than life amongst the heads of creative studios, etc. Yeah. And by the way, I wouldn't stress trying to reduce the price down to £6 a week. Person that can only afford £6 a week is not going to buy your suits. It's going to think nothing about $3,500, etc. It might not be people here. It might not be what I would pay, but that's not important.
No, someone else put that in my mind, and I've sort of been running with it recently, and I'll drop it out again.
No, I would certainly drop that, Martin.
I mean, I still don't even know whether I should have the price on the website, to be honest.
We've discussed this at previous meetings. Andy's saying, no, I don't believe so. I don't believe you should have a price. I mean, we had this conversation. I think as Rebecca mentioned, I think, if you go past a woman's dress shop and there's no prices, you probably couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
But the person that can afford it will go in.
Well, that's what we always say in tailoring. If you've got to ask, you can't afford it. So,
Correct. So, people shouldn't be deciding on a suit based on the price. You don't, otherwise that, I wouldn't have that on.
No, I'm going to take it off. I didn't really, I haven't, it hasn't sat comfortable with me anyway, to be honest, that page.
Right. Martin, did you have a point?
You're on mute, Martin.
I think Ollie was going to make a point before me.
Yes.
I'm losing track this. Sorry, Ollie, and apologies to Rebecca. Ollie.
Yeah, I was thinking, so my brother-in-law is pretty well off, and he wears, he's got a really nice suit that's blue flamingos on, and it gets, spoken about loads whenever he's at a party or festival, weddings, things like that. And I was thinking also, what else does he like and buy? And they bought a Porsche, and I was thinking that could be a nice link up, is if, a nice friendly car salesman like Andy, perhaps, if he's selling the latest Jaguar I-Pace and there's some kind of link up that you could do with, whether, there's an incentive with a suit or something like that, or something there.
I did like the idea, I think it was Debbie, wasn't it, that said about, finding some sort of good gala charity event and offer, something like that. I think it'd be a great idea, or, as you just said, Ollie, as well, I don't mind doing that at all,
Because it's the similar, I guess, people who, are buying, Porsches, things like that. They've, for them, $3,500 is the same as probably our kind of 200 quid, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
My 200 quid. And
my 20 quid.
Yeah, they don't think much of spending that. And so it's trying how you could then tap into that kind of audience that someone else has already got, I guess, really.
That's why the price on the website, that's why the prices don't sit right with me on the website, for that exact reason.
Yeah. Martin and then Nick.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, it's also a question for you, Paul. I don't know if it's a right sort of angle, but sort of advertising in printed press in sort of quality magazines that are based, maybe distributed in places like Clifton, they're, those sort of areas, they have sort of lifestyle magazines.
Yeah.
I don't know in terms of what you think about what you'll get back for the amount of money you have to invest, but it's a sort of product that may do well with that kind of angle or approach in marketing.
Yeah, I spoke to I can't remember the last name now, Eleanor, a guy called Paul Green put me onto her. She works in luxury publications. And she basically, I'm working on a collection, which Mark's probably helped shoot, actually, I should imagine, which I can then offer to some magazines. She said you need a collection before you can really offer it to magazines. Someone else said to me recently that public printed isn't the best route anymore, but I'm not sure.
Depends on I think you've got to analyse who the audience who are reading these things. And I
thought about the Bristol magazine, which has a really good readership, goes to all the right places in Bristol. The other thing is there's race days and all that kind of stuff. So I want to try and have a look at all the horse racing fraternity and what have you.
Okay, that again, that's quite interesting. People that go to Cheltenham, etc. It's fine. Again, back to the audience. I think you've got to really take a hard look as to who that audience is. One last point here, and that's from Nick.
Yeah, Tom, you're obviously looking at some photography with Marcus on some of the the items you've got coming up. I don't know whether you've ever done some photography around the whole process of you making your product, and I'm sure it must take you a huge amount of time to make a bespoke suit. The artistry and all the storytelling that you've got there, I think that just elevating the artistry and the skills behind the manufacturing process. Most suits are probably made in the Far East somewhere, aren't they? Yours is handmade with loving care.
Yeah,
bringing all that to life.
Yeah, there is a big difference. There's bespoke's a really badly used word. And I don't really like using it too much. We tend to put true in front of it these days. because made to measure, cut and shuts, and all sorts of put under the word bespoke these days. Marcus is going to help me like a personal branding thing, so I don't know how we're going to do that. But yeah, no, I mean, my Instagram is a collection of sort of bits of stuff I've made, plus me making stuff. Kind of what I like to call action shots, you know. But it's difficult when you're on your own. You're trying to do it all photographs and do the work and make it look natural. It can be quite tricky. And I think
that'd be really helpful.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great if somehow you had a journalist that would do a special feature interview with you. That would be particularly good. And I could see an article. If you're buying a pair of trousers and you've got a flat arse, this is what you need to pay attention to. I can see that as the headline now.
Don't give him up your day job.
It's not the Tom Bennett show, but you've had good value here, Tom. And thank you very much for your participation. We want to see you again. But I'm going to go around now and see who else is producing content. I know that Rod from last week is very much inspired by the ideas we gave him about testimonials as to why people choose funeral plans. But what other content have people engaged in of late? Are you doing any content that's building authority? Is it something you've got time to do? Is it something somebody else could do? Should you look at shortcuts, etc.? And I don't mean just written content. There's all ways in which you can produce content. Andy, what about you?
I'm very much I'm in the awareness stage, Paul. It's just a case of now planning and getting the stuff out on a regular basis. So I've got plenty of topics to talk about that, you know, will create a lot of heat and a lot of feedback and comments. But I just need to consistently start getting it out there. So
I think that can be a challenge, can't it? It's
I
think personally, I think that it's probably better to sort of map out what you want to do, either write it, collate it, shoot it, or whatever. Have you thought which medium you're going to use?
I have, and so written word and video on LinkedIn, actually on the website, Google My Business. So it is basically written posts or information posts, and some edgy, sort of comments on current issues in the motor industry for myself as well, to definitely get a lot of bite backs on quite quickly. Yeah,
that can be very good. A very good friend of mine used to has followed for years a guy called Honest John. I don't know whether it's in the Telegraph, but he seems to have a great following because he gives really hard-hitting advice on what cars to buy, what the issues are, etc. So I would have thought that would be, things like that can be quite good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Idea. Who else is approaching content maybe for the first time? Debbie.
I was going to ask a question about Facebook, where I've got quite a few friends on Facebook, and sometimes I put things out there and so on. But I just wondered, do you know, if you put hashtags, does it make a difference on Facebook? Is it a hashtag thing or not? No. Okay.
I don't know the answer to that. I was looking at an article about hashtags recently. And one of the bits that came to mind is create your own hashtag.
Right.
As your own branding. So for instance, I'm thinking hashtag marketing crew and always including that, but I haven't got into it enough to decide on whether that's a strat. I don't want to just do that for one. I'm either going to do it or I'm not. And I can't think of if I can find the article, I'll let you see it. Certainly on things like LinkedIn. And if we end up doing more on LinkedIn, which I think is inevitable, we will. I think that can come out because we've clearly got some LinkedIn specialists here. I keep thinking there's a woman that's just walked into your lounge, Marcus, and started throwing money at you. Sorry, Marcus.
Yes, that happens on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's normally the other way around.
Did you send around my house, please, Marcus?
Hashtags on LinkedIn, you can create your own. It's recommended to create your own hashtag. Mine is hashtag Marcus on Photography. It's a good way of people seeing all your posts all in one go.
That's good. And presumably you can add them to previous posts, can't you?
No, you can't retrospect. No, you can't. No, you can't add hashtags. They're published already. They don't get published again with a hashtag.
All right.
Actually, I say that. I don't know. That's a good point.
If you went in to edit each one and add a hashtag, surely that would...
Yeah, maybe you could. That is a good idea. I thought of that.
I think you can edit them, because I edited a post the other day and it seemed I didn't lose, the views or the follow or anything on them.
No, you can definitely edit them. Yeah.
Edit, but hashtagging, yes.
Oh,
I had a question.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Sorry, as I'm amongst friends and we're talking about content, can I have an opinion on my background, please? Does it work? Is it annoying? Or is it like, what the fuck are you on about?
I've switched off from it now, actually, to be honest. It's only when you mentioned it again, I've started tuning into it again.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I noticed it at the beginning.
Yes.
And actually, funnily, I was thinking last night, it would be good if we, in this group, did not like a show and tell, but sort of if we, showed what we did more. And then I come on and see you are showing what you do. So it is quite good. But at some points, it does look like they're attacking you.
I sort of planned it, so I would be like here.
Oh yeah.
I must admit, I'd stopped noticing it.
I think that's a good thing, though. I'm glad you've got noticing it, because that means it's not annoying.
Well, Paul at the beginning thought you was going to be, because we were discussing about pausing it, weren't we? Because Paul thought it might be distracting, but until you mentioned it, I don't think anyone's really noticed it.
Therefore, I've got to ask you why you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you did notice it right at the beginning.
Yeah, it works, Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, now I know. I mean, I knew anyway the sort of pictures you took, but I'm seeing more.
Yeah, if you didn't know me, I think it's good for Zoom calls, but I wouldn't use it on a one-to-one.
No,
it'd be a bit too much in your face.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. I should have done a poll like one of Paul's polls with a free Bobby on it.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to just share the screen again and just cover off and then come back to everybody. Just you bear with me a second. Right, the first, this is some software, and I'm going to give you something that could be, for those of you who want to do podcast or videos, I've come across some really good kit. First of all, the software, and I'll give you these links separately anyway in the notes, to pull a URL down and produce something. And by the way, you can add to that at the end. You can add your own details, your own QR codes, or your own detail. Producing ebooks or whatever, a report, very easy. It's called Designer with 2 R. I use some software called Smart Mockups to be able to plan to picture an image within another image, whether it's on a billboard or where you saw those pictures on an iPad. They were all done with something called Smart Mockups. Canva, I think we've mentioned, that is absolutely brilliant. I use Canva a lot for the front of videos and for the front of the recordings that we do here. Again, attempting to stop people in their tracks because of the image they see right at the start of a video. Because certainly if you're sharing a video, I think you've got about 3 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds to grab their attention and announce that this is something that could be of value to them. Otherwise, they're not going to continue to watch it. From a database and keeping up with everything and keeping on top of to follow up and staying in touch, as I covered, and that is really key. Still find One Page CRM absolutely brilliant. Some of the stuff that does in terms of who to call, and the actually mobile app is absolutely brilliant. I know Nick uses MailerLite. MailerLite I would use. That's rather like for sending out broadcasts, but certainly for producing a form within your website so that they want that contact detail, that detail about let's have a conversation. They'll get a link to my diary, online diary, but I also capture their detail, and then they'll get a note from me on MailerLite. So if you've got anybody, if you're asking anybody to give you their email difference, you've got to capture it in some sort of autoresponder. I think HubSpot could be quite good, but MailerLite is free up to 1,000 contacts and 12,500 emails a month. Is a brilliant and very easy to use piece of kit. I've not talked about Lead Generator, that's Leads Gorilla. But I want to talk about this last one, and I'm going to see whether this can work. I'm going to show you this, because A, you could find it useful, but secondly, I'm going to show you how you can have a capture page in one piece of software. The question is that going to a page and opening up? Is that there? Can you see that?
No.
No.
Not the moment, Paul, no.
It does it again, so I'm going to stop the share and come back onto it. Don't know why it does that.
Oh.
It's all right. You should be able to see that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll do it again. So what I've done here, and this is on Dub, I've taken this particular piece of software, is superb. It's called Descript, and I've taken their video off YouTube, taken the URL, and it's pulled it into Dub. And here I can send this out to you. I can send it out to anybody, and it can be any video, one you've recorded yourself, one you've picked up from somewhere else. There's no distractions. So even though this is from YouTube, you can't see any other things to distract you. You can get started for free at the end. There's a call to action button at the bottom, and you can go on any of my contacts and all my details. So it's like a business card. But if you do this, I get notified.
Like it or not, there's going to come a day when you think,
I should record this presentation.
We should do a podcast.
A pod what?
I should start a YouTube channel.
I should record my screen.
Hey guys.
Hey everyone. We're pushing.
I've never actually. Oh my God.
We record a lot of stuff.
yep, you do. But before you share it,
Sent. I don't like this.
you're going to want to edit it first.
Uh-oh.
But editing is
Hard, I know. Where do you even start, right? Well, I'll show you where to start. Meet Descript. It's a powerful new tool that makes editing easy. So easy that you'll want to edit videos.
nice. How does it
Work? Well, first you need some video or audio. If you've already got some, just drag it right into Descript. Wait for it.
Hey guys, welcome to my first YouTube video. Hopefully my little guys don't fall.
Whoa.
What?
Nah.
Yeah, it takes your audio and turns it into text. So when this happens,
All right guys, I'm going in.
Sweetie,
What?
dinner.
I'm doing it big, Mom!
you can cut it out like this.
Okay.
How
about that?
But get this, Descript can turn your text back into audio.
I'm pretty sure this is a first edition super rare creature kawaii. I was wrong. It's a 7th edition, more common than water creature kawaii.
It's called Overdub. Just type what you meant to say right into Descript.
I'm pretty sure this is a 7th edition creature kawaii.
And for those who need it, Descript has a screen recorder built right in.
Hey everyone. We're pushing a big update today to our content management system.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you right there. This is so boring.
I know.
Check it out.
Hey everyone. We're pushing
With a click, you can remove every kind of, like, and whatever the hell that is.
Hey everyone, we're pushing a big update today to our CMS.
Woo, that's so cool.
Hey.
And with a few clicks, you can publish your project right to the web and easily share with anyone.
Damn, Jenny, I underestimated you.
And Descript is no slouch either, with support for things like non-destructive multi-track precision editing,
No.
titles, transitions, and keyframe animation,
No.
audio mixing and mastering tools, even exporting your project to other pro apps.
Woo, Woo!
And get this, you and your collaborators can work in the app at the same time.
No!
So when you capture media,
Pickle, you mean green?
No! Ah!
make sure you edit it into Descript.
I think it's Descript.
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 That. Click there, and that's where you go to where people can sign in or get the free trial. Now, I've only shown you that because I think that video is absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant video.
Sorry? Brilliant video. I think it allows anybody that's venturing into this to be able to record and not worry about the ums and the ahs, etc. From what I can see, it's free up to a certain point. So I'll send you the link to that, and that could be, apart from the fact that it'll turn your voice into text, which could then be pulled off as a blog. It could be a neat piece of software for those venturing into on-screen videos and that. But I thought that, again, imagine you producing a video using something that can then, you got a landing page all in one. That's a separate piece. That's Dub, but the Descript, I think, could be really good. Anyway, I'm going to bring I hope you've got plenty of ideas today. I'm going to bring the meeting to a close. And what we normally do is say, what takeaway have you got from today's meeting? What's got you thinking? And I'm going to start with Mel.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear from Tom on a sort of more diverse product that I'm used to sort of talking about. And interesting, I put a post up on LinkedIn, because we talked about that too yesterday, which was about personal branding. And Marcus very kindly commented on that. And I think there's some points on there, Marcus, that might be relevant when you're working with Tom.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mel. Rod.
Yeah, I think certainly Nick Cole has got some information, ideas that Tom could benefit from. There was a collaboration on the Nick with a magazine, and there could be an idea in amongst that, that Tom could benefit from. And I think, I'm looking for a Friday night frock coat that's going to drop the girls to the floor, okay? Because, I just want to look good when I go out on a Friday night. I'm only going out for a few beers around Wells, but Friday night's my night out.
Yeah, but yeah, you wear one of Tom's creations, and people think, I can't afford this man. Marcus.
I can't afford to go out.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd just like to thank Tom, obviously, for being my guest today. And I'm sure you'll all agree he's not only got a fascinating story, super skilled, but he's a really, really nice, honest guy. So I think thank you, Tom, for coming. And Tom will definitely be in my new book, all about men who are making a difference over the age of 50. And the book's called Grey Matters.
Absolutely. Nick.
Yeah, great session, Paul. And actually, Rod, that's a good point. I've forgotten all about that, that feature that we did. And Tom, I know that you're already in contact with Nick Holmes, aren't you? Who's the men's personal stylist. Yeah. And I put Nick in contact with the editor at Bath Life. And I think in the last edition last week, Nick had a brilliant full-page feature on styling men. So it just shows that power of introductions and can lead to great opportunities. So and there could be some opportunity there for you, Tom, with Bath Life as well, given our locality. And it's all about styling and looking good, and there's plenty of money in Bath, isn't there? So
there is, yeah.
Money to explore, possibly.
I think the number of people that I think there's great interest in crafts, craftsmen, craftswomen, people that are working from home maybe, and bringing something more individual. I think that's for sure. Debbie.
Yeah, as always, really interesting. Really lovely to meet you, Tom. Just so you know, you come across so nicely and so well that it doesn't show that you're nervous at all. So, and it was really, really interesting learning about you. And also really interesting learning about everything, as always. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Ollie?
Yeah, nice to meet you too, Tom. For me, I really like what you said, that jab, ask, but also the jab, right hook, I think it was, but in the terms of give, ask. And I think it's kind of what we all seem to be doing here. We're kind of quite natural at giving our input and our own expertise. And then I think it we all hopefully feel a bit more confident when someone reaches out then, because we're all a bit more familiar with each other, and it's taking that kind of our interactions here maybe into the wider, for me certainly into the wider kind of sphere, so like onto LinkedIn and Facebook and things like that, and yeah, making some time to do that really. So yeah, thank you, Paul.
Good. Let me see, I've just gone to see what the, where am I? Who's next? Andy.
Well, as everybody, I've met Tom before on another networking group, but it's fascinating to hear you, mate. And I think, you know, you've got a compelling thing. You just need to polish how we get it to your market. Yeah. And obviously, this is one of those safe environments for you to have a play, as I found out. And from my point of view, you just need to get some content out there. So.
Great. Thank you, Andy. Andrew.
Yeah, really nice to meet Tom. Fascinating background, quite eclectic actually. Just really, really interesting. And I just got these. I never knew about, you know, jacket linings and having all sorts of fantastic sort of designs and images and stuff. That's just brilliant. And I think the idea of some of the ideas that have been pulled together today about, you know, creative directors and all these type, you know, people in the creative industries and what have you, that are at the top of the game. That'd be a fantastic audience for that, I reckon. Brilliant.
Yeah. Good. Rebecca.
Yeah, really interesting. Nice just to hear a totally different story, I guess, than we're used to. So that was, yeah, really nice to hear that. And it just made me think of my husband's, his favorite shirt, which always gets comments. It's just a shirt, but like you were saying with the jacket, it's got little bits inside the collar and the cuffs and that, but it's really good. So if people are being less dressy, you could easily just wear a shirt going out, you know, in the evening. A jacket is quite full on, isn't it? But a shirt you could wear. That's a nice little one too. Anyway, you've made me think about loads of dressing things now.
I'm also thinking that I know that Marcus is coming over to Wells to photograph a band. Dave in that band, his partner Carolyn is a really high-end, I nearly said seamstress, but she's far more than that. She's very creative. And I'm suddenly thinking, actually, she would probably love to know somebody with Tom's skills to match hers, you know, where there's that potential connection. Martin, what about you? What was any feedback from today?
Yeah, it's the same as everyone. It's really nice to hear more about Tom. I've met Tom on other networking groups, but to have a bit more detail is great. And also, even though we were discussing Tom, it was like a very interesting conversation about marketing in general. So yeah, it's great. Also, yeah, like with Mel sort of saying about his post, it's that Marcus had commented, but we don't. It might be a good idea to have people like a group here where we know where people are posting, because sometimes posts just disappear so quickly. So, you know, it's like it sort of comes and it goes, but if it's kind of flagged up somewhere, then you kind of, you know, to comment on it.
Yeah, I think a good point. Tom, I think you've perhaps you'll be able to compare this with anything else that you're on, but I think you can see the nature of what we tend to do here. Just some feedback from you. What, you know, any takeaways you've got from today's meeting?
Well, it's been great. Yeah, I know a few of you actually. It's nice actually. I think that's why I felt a bit more at home, because Andy popped up and Nick popped up and Martin popped up, and obviously Martin invited me along. So I kind of, you know, knew some friendly faces, which always helps. And I was spoken to you on the phone, Paul, so that was great. No, I got some brilliant information. I mean, I think, you know, sort of to rethink things, you know, a lot more. And I've written down, you know, I think the key things really are the jacket linings to really sort of promote that kind of whole concept, right? You know, would be great. And then to find a face, you know, someone I can just dress and push them out there, you know, in front of me.
Tom, I'm more than happy to jump on a Zoom call and a one-to-one to take you through your marketing structure, because even now you've got ideas like linings, etc. I'm more interested in you getting that that structure right, being audience, how you're going to get them to lean forward, how you're going to engage, and thereon. And I think if you get that umbrella, you can then slot in the different techniques quite easily, and then you can measure them and see that. And by the way, if you do decide to become a member, you've got access to literally, I don't know how many hours, but these hours and hours and hours of really great content divided up into audience, engagement, etc., that you can access. Just so that I can end with say have a great week, I'm just going to tell you what the poll said. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see that. LinkedIn marketing, we need to pay attention to, 67% with joint prospecting, lead generation. So let's cover those in forthcoming. Content creation, we've covered a bit of that today, but by no means everything. And Facebook marketing, and funnily enough, referral strategies have not scored that well. But from 9 people, that's great. Thanks for contributing to that. And I hope everybody has a great week. All the best. I'll send you those links out, etc. And let's see if we can do that one-to-one call, Tom.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I need to when you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Good to see you again, Tom. Thanks, Paul.